Happy Sunday. Oh, I love the Sunday evenings because I get to talk and get to interact with amazing people from around the world. And today, I'm so honored to have the godfather of British gospel, Bazil Meade MBE, all the way here in the UK. Welcome, Basil.
Good evening, Nana. Good to see you. Looking
Good
very
to see
summery,
you.
must admit.
We were laughing because I was telling Basil that I want to see, I want to see you in good position and I want to see the full body. And he says, no, I'm not going to show you my full
You know,
body
you,
because
you won't want to see my whole of my body, no?
we
It
don't
doesn't
want
matter
surprise.
whether it's sunny outside or not. You're not going to see it.
You know, this Zoom and live shows that we are doing that we are not in the studio. Now we all get to sit at the comfort of our home, our kitchen, wherever we
Mm.
find ourselves. And so you can see just the top and the bottom. No one knows what's going on down there. And
That's
one of
right.
these days, I think I need to cut some.
Might still be in my night clothes. That is the beauty of doing these interviews from home. You could be just pull something on the top.
I just love it. I just love it. But
Uh,
so, how are you, Basil?
Yes, it's been a full week for me. We've been busy trying to record and get our fundraising concert that we had planned for yesterday, but because of the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh being placed on the same day, we decided lately that we shouldn't be competing, so we moved it to the 22nd of May. So we have been
Okay.
planning. We're continuing to record and keep that promotion going. So on the 22nd of May, we should have more content and more people being aware of it,
Oh,
what the purpose for
fantastic.
it is. Yeah.
Fantastic. Welcome to everyone who is joining us. I see my wonderful commander here. Welcome, Faye. Thank you so much. Today, as I said, I have the privilege of having a conversation with this wonderful man who is being in the gospel and should I say R&B in the music industry for over 40 years or going on to 40 years.
Wha-
He is the pioneer and founder of the first UK gospel choir in here in UK in London, and which is the London Community Gospel Choir. But before we dive into that, you were just saying that you moved your program because of the Duke's funeral. I know you've performed for Her Majesty the Queen before. How was yesterday for you? How did you watch it? Were you invited? No, you weren't. Nobody went apart from the family. So how was your day for you? For you, how was it like?
I was actually busy recording because we
Mm,
that's the only day we felt
mm,
we needed to get it done, and we were actually trying to record a couple of tributes that we were putting up online to support the Queen and her family on the day. So we were actually in studio at the time recording the pieces that we have recorded,
mm.
and they should be up. I think one of them should be up now, but over the next day or so. Many people say you should have put it up before, but I think the conversation will be running for a while about the loss of the Duke of Edinburgh, the Queen's husband, of course, and so that topic will be on for a while yet. So it still be
Mm.
fresh in people's minds. So that is up. That is what we were doing yesterday, and
It
by
was
the
it
time
was a it was a beautiful ceremony, isn't it? Very very
so I am.
solemn, very calm, and how he had organized his funeral, and it's beautiful when you know a time is coming that you're going to
Mm,
leave this earth and you plan it. It's so amazing.
mm,
So we pray for the queen and the royal family, and we pray that his soul rest in peace. So
yeah.
Basil Mead, MBE. How did your MBE come about?
Um, I don't know. to tell you, because I had no idea that it was coming. Um, I realized, is it about 4 years ago, 3 years ago? I'm terrible with the dates
Mm,
like that. But I received a letter one morning. I think must have been 2017 or 2018. Um, that had a royal seal on it. And if you've ever seen them, you see them on TV and shows and so
mm,
forth. But the letter has something, a look about it that is different. And so when I saw this letter dropping with my name on it, the material that the envelope was made up of, well, had a little a bit of, it is different, and it looked like it was specially made. It wasn't your typical uh, envelope that you would buy in Ryman's or one of those places. And so when I opened it and I saw what it read, I read it, and I'm sure it sunk in. So I read it, and I put it in my rucksack that I keep my travel things in for office and so forth. So I drove to office. So when I got in the morning, there were two ladies who worked in my office, and I put my bag down and I said to them, "Oh, I received a letter this morning. This was like November of the year. I received a letter this morning from from Buckingham Palace." And as soon as I said that, their body language changed. And this grin came across both faces. So right away, I realized that something was up. So I said, "What? What do you know that I don't know?" And they
mm.
said, "Oh, we were we were sworn to secrecy since May or April that year." They got in touch with us, and they asked us to keep this between ourselves, and they were asked to provide information about me for the next few months. Whatever inquiry they had, they spoke to the ladies, and they were collecting information on me because someone had nominated me for it, and you never know. I still don't know who nominated me for it.
Wow.
Um, and so the ladies spilled the beans, and they told me, "Yeah, you'll be nominated for an MBE." And so I just put it to bed until I was on holiday in January, and I was actually on the beach. I had my phone with me, and all of a sudden the phone went crazy. Ping, ping, and just one after the next. I can hear messages were dropping in. So I looked at the phone. "Congratulations on your MBE. Congratulations." From all over the place, because I think one of the newspapers had put. By that time, I knew it was coming, but I wasn't sure which date it would have been announced. And one of the papers, they put up the whole list of all those nominating the Queen's honors list,
Mm.
and so my name was there, and the friends from all over the place, UK, Europe, and everywhere, who found out about it sent me messages of congratulations. Yes, so that's how it was presented to me by my staff, who I think they must have struggled to keep it quiet, but the managers anyway to
Yes.
keep it away from me.
Wow. Congratulations on that. We will, before we run out, we will come back and talk about our community, all of us looking out for people doing great things in the community and nominating them for the Queen's honors. So I know you were born in Montserrat, a beautiful island somewhere in the Caribbean. Tell me a little bit about Montserrat.
Montserrat is among the Leeward Islands, the part of the Caribbean that I'm from. You have the Leeward Islands towards the top up to the north, and then you have the Windward Islands, which would include Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, St. Lucia, the Grenadines. But up the top, the Leeward Islands, then you have Montserrat, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, Guadeloupe, and a few other islands. Um, yeah, you probably find the smaller of the islands are there. And that's where I was born. What seems many many moons ago. It is
Many,
that
many moons ago.
many moons. Okay, I count them by the moon.
I hear the The fruits there are so big, and I happen to have a friend from Montserrat, and I said one day take me to Montserrat. He said, Nana, you can go, but it takes a tiny aeroplane to
Mm.
take you there from. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
no, I
yeah.
don't want to be in a tiny aeroplane. No, 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 no.
Many people struggle with that because it cannot have an international airport that takes your big 300-400 seater planes. It has to be
Yeah.
something like an 8 seater, a 4 seater
No.
even.
Mm-mm.
And many people
Mm-mm.
struggle with that because you're literally skimming the sea. It seems as you travel. You're up for about 12 minutes. You leave Antigua for about 12 or 15 minutes, and you're landing again.
Oh
So
yes, she told me
yeah,
about that. So
it's
hey,
scary. It's
maybe
scary.
one day we would. I'll gather that
There,
courage and
if you don't mind the sea, there is a ferry as well, so you can go
oh,
by sea, which will take you an hour or so to go there. So it's not bad at all.
okay. I'll think about that. I'll think about that.
Yeah.
So let's come back to gospel music. You've been in gospel music for getting to 40 years now, and you founded the first gospel community choir here in the UK. What inspired you to do that?
It is actually more than 40 years. It's 40 years with LCGC.
Oh
Well,
wow.
I had my own church choir, which was very well known, one of the best known choirs in UK at the time, called the Leroy Choir, which stands for the Latter Rain Outpouring Revival, which was the church, independent church I belonged to, with the minister, Dr. Reverend Olive Paris, who was my mentor.
Mm.
And my biography talks much about her because she's the woman who inspired me to be the person I am. She blessed me by praying over me, asking God to instill the gift of music into my life. At a time in my young teenage life, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and she took me under her wings and mentored me and taught me how to love myself, to believe in myself, prayed, showed me the first keyboard chords that I learned, piano chords that I learned. It came from her hands. I talk about her concept. I cannot talk about my life without talking about her because she's such an important person in my life. Um, so she started her church, and that's where I developed my skills, my love for gospel music, because she introduced me to a stack of albums of gospel artists like Aretha Franklin, James Cleveland, Southern California Community Choir, Caravans, Billy Preston, Rich the Small. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So that choir was the unit that helped me to develop the skills that I then used with London Community Gospel Choir. And I was not the only person. You had Lawrence Johnson, who was my youth choir tutor leader in the church. So I mentored him while I was being mentored. And he was very instrumental in developing the sound, the discipline, the teaching of the London Community Gospel Choir as well. And so my history has been longer than LCGC. LCGC came along after about 10, 15 years that I'd already been involved in gospel music, because prior to my own choir, there was Kanos, which is
Wow.
a sort of Christian soul band. We were quite controversial in the day because we looked like an American soul band. We dressed like it, and our music was quite funky. Then I went into London Community Gospel Choir, then my church, and then London Community Gospel Choir. So there's been a series of stepping stones that led to the forming and the eventual presenting of the London Community Gospel Choir, the first community gospel choir in UK and probably Europe as well.
Basil, you did mention that it was the woman of God who mentored you, who should I say harnessed the gift in you. Would you stress the importance, because we see a lot of people who are gifted in the church. I mean, I'm a church girl, so in the church, but it's I we don't see that nowadays, where the gifts, the gift that God has placed in us are being harnessed by the leaders of the church, and then we see
Mm,
people sway away into the world and do their own things. Could you, because this is a woman who, even you said, help you with the keyboard, that you have become the man that you are today, and you've been able to be a blessing to a whole community, to the UK and to the world. Would you please re-emphasize again the importance of, leaders citing gifts in people's life, so that we can be harnessed? Because some people can identify their own gift. There's some people who can identify who they are and go on, but there's some people who are looking up to leaders, waiting for them to say, hey, I think you're good at this, let's help you to do it, than just sitting there and, in the middle, dying and going, not do anything.
mm. I think the days are gone, Nana, when people of talent will sit in a church where there is no appreciation for the talent that they have, or no room or space for them to develop that within the environment of the church. And unfortunately, that has been the experience of many amazing musicians, singers, people with other skills who would love to stay or remain within the church environment and use those skills to benefit the church. But as we said, if there are leaders who cannot see this talent, and not just see it, but see the benefit it can be to the body of Christ within that church, because that is the context you have to look at
Mm.
it in. It's not so much benefiting the pastor, which the pastors, he or she will definitely benefit from, but the organization and the body of Christ, because people want to use their skills, whether it be music, as I said, but creative skills in whatever form within the church that they have been. And many of these people have grown up. They were born into these churches. They grew up in the churches. So they want to remain within that family. But because there is no room, no encouragement, no invitation for them to develop, no recognition that is a talent that should be developed, should be encouraged, and a comfortable space is created for them to develop, a nurturing space. That I was very fortunate, and I recognize that every day. This woman, she was a stranger to me at first. She's from Jamaica. She was mixed culture. Her mother was Jamaican, her father was Scottish. Um, and I was in the church I attended at the time, which was the New Testament Church of God. There were many other young people. So
Oh,
why
New Testament. Okay.
why me? Yeah, why me? It's so, and I was having a pretty tough time. So I don't think I was a particularly pleasant young man to look at. One member of the church told me one time, "You look like you were always ready to fight. You look angry." You looked angry, and because I lived in an environment at home that was like stressful, I was unhappy. Father and stepfather that I did not get on with, and there were situations there that I was very unhappy about, and so I was not enjoying that. So it showed on my face. It was a permanent look that I had. But in spite of that, this woman saw something in me, and decided to take me under her wings. I had begun to play the guitar a little bit in the church, with the minister, but I had not started looking at the piano because I literally was at the early stages of my getting into music. So the importance of church is recognizing the skills and the talent that exists within its membership is a vital skill or sensitivity that needs to be in place for the legacy of the church, because the church needs people with ability. You need people who are able to bring the word, preach, people who will pray, key, an essential part of the church, but people who are also able to recognize natural skills, natural abilities within the congregation, to harness that and create an environment where those skills can be developed in the church and help the church to grow as a result. Because the current pastor will not be there forever. The other leaders, the elders, will not be there forever. The musicians who are there will not be there forever. You will need to be developing and be taking the standard, the quality of what you do. Indeed, we say we worship the great God, the God. Then we should aim to make whatever we do in His name the best it can be. And that means creating an environment where the skills can be developed to the best level or standard that it can ever reach. So the leaders need to be sensitive to that. Membership as well.
Thank you so much on that, Basil. So let's move on. I mean, you and your community choir are very sought after here in the UK and Europe and around the world. You've performed at the National Theatre. You've done so much. Tell me the process of getting people to join the choir. Do you do auditions? How is the process like?
Um, Once a year, we try to look at potential members. Um, it's probably become more irregular as I struggle to find singers who have what I'm looking for. There aren't as many people around anymore that can sing gospel style. Certainly not in UK. I have not met them. I don't find they're coming. When we put out requests to audition, we're not getting many coming through the door. Unfortunately, that is, I think, because there are many gospel choirs around anymore. They're not, because the whole situation has now changed on a different style of music in worship, and so the singing style is different. The approach to making music, the music in worship, not just in white church, but in the black churches, because it's all become one style of music, which is again something that I'm sad about, because it means that the black churches who in the past 70s and 80s, which would be the period I was there, the musicians who were in the churches played with a cultural Caribbean, mainly Caribbean. I think the African presence has become much larger in recent years. But back then, it was mainly Caribbean people, the churches I attended, and the membership. And there might have been a sprinkle of African worshippers there, but predominantly Caribbean. The music, which was based around probably quite a bit of American style music. Some of it was even American country and Western. A lot of the churches preferred to play that style of music in the worship. That's what they knew. Those are the song books that they used. There were some that were rootsy. They were Jamaican. So at the time, it might have been soca, when we say soca, ska, or the other styles that were around at the time. But it was cultural music. The styling of the songs were cultural, Jamaican, Caribbean. If you went to a Bajan church or a church where there were predominantly monstrations, calypso and soca, or calypso, soca, Jamaican style. Now it's reggae, but it was Caribbean style music. That seems to have drifted out of many of our churches. The praise and worship that's come in, it's more of a European flavor, I find. And for me, that I don't have a problem with that happening. The integration seems to work, but we tend to be of a people who, when we will integrate, but what we do is throw our own culture down the pan.
Yeah.
That for me is tragic. It is tragic because it means we are denying who we are. Embrace other styles. So there's, this a wider community shows that we're reaching out, but retain who you are through your music,
Retain.
through your food.
But
Yes.
maybe we haven't passed it on. As you said, the pastors will not be there forever, and sometimes it's the passing on. We've come over here and we've had kids, and who sometimes even is taking them to church if you have not instilled it in them, taking asking them to come with you to church. Sometimes some parents have it that difficulty, you see. So I think maybe to bring it back, we need to um it needs to be passed on. And many
That's it.
youngsters are going to the, should I say, hills, the
Yeah,
hill songs, and
yeah, that yeah, and that is where it's all gone. It's the Hillsong style. It's coming
Mm,
from a different culture, and we must
yeah.
admit, I'm not being racist. I'm not promoting
No, no,
segregation
no,
here.
no, no, no.
What
Yeah.
what I'm saying is the recognition of cultures is a vital thing, that we must recognize and be strong enough to say it. I'm not saying that we should not embrace anything that comes from the white community or from Hillsong. What I am saying, we should not throw our own styles of music and worship down the pan. We shouldn't stop using it. We should not stop using that style in worship because
Mm,
it's culture. The culture that we have is we should not be feeling that it's inferior. We shouldn't be having or embarrassed about it. We should be proud of it. It's like listening to an African artist and inability to me. They should all have the ability to do some Afro beats
eh.
because that is absolute. When you hear that, you know it's African immediately. You cannot
Mm.
not recognize African. The Caribbean has its own style of music. That's what I'm saying. We need
So
to
let's bring it back. Let's pass it on, and let's
absolutely
bring it back into the churches.
to
Maybe
worship.
when when we all, maybe with your experience, you can talk about, which I'm coming to, the Bazil Meade experience. Tell me about that too.
Bazil Meade Experience is my band that's different that I put together separately from the London Community Gospel Choir. I wanted to do music that is probably closer to the music that inspired and influenced me as I was growing up. So it's soul, it's R&B, bit of rock, bit of pop, maybe not so much pop, but more rock music, blues definitely, gospel, blues, soul, it's all in there. And so I wanted to be able to select songs with a small team, three backing vocalists, my band with me at the center of my piano, try and do things that I wanted to do. Everything I've done for 30 odd years and 40 years has been about the London Community Gospel Choir and the people who have come through there. So it's people said to me, you should have done this a long time ago. I said I was busy with my work. I
Mm,
needed to do what I was doing. Now I think I can take a little time and do some gigs. I
mm,
have done a few here and there. It's an experience that I love. It puts me under the microscope, so to speak. I mean, I'm front person for the London Community Gospel Choir, but I'm pulling different people out when I'm doing the choir gigs. But in the Basil Meade experience, it's just me out front with my band and my backing vocalists. Yeah, I haven't done anything for quite a while, definitely for the past year, as most of us creative people have been sitting on our couches watching football,
mm.
TV, and
Binging
playing
Netflix.
Scrabble. Yes, playing Scrabble and all that.
Uh, you love music. You eat, you breathe, you sleep music.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
you also organize master classes, and for church choirs, for people who want to have a solo career and all that. Tell me about that, how that master classes also came about, because maybe Nana will be enrolling soon.
Yeah, come on. I actually run an experience day from my studio in Walthamstow, where people who want to have the experience of singing in a gospel choir join me for the afternoon. I take them through the history of gospel music, but a history about the London Community Gospel Choir and my own journey. And then I normally keep the class to about 10, so it's quite intimate. I teach them and show them how we actually teach London Community Gospel Choir, how we teach choir, how I teach choir. And so they get that experience. I put them through the paces. I teach them a couple of simple songs that they then later that evening, because they attend they attend choir rehearsal. It's always on a Wednesday because that's the day London Community Gospel Choir rehearses. So they then attend choir rehearsal, and they are split up amongst the various vocal groups of the choir. So those I feel will sing alto is put in the alto section, soprano section, tenor section, or whatever. And so they experience the London Community Gospel Choir rehearsing. So that's the gospel experience, and we present them with a certificate at the end of it to say they've had that experience. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
yeah. But the master class is I started traveling into Europe some years ago when I was invited because people knew of the London Community Gospel Choir. They love the sound, and our profile is quite high. So they asked me to come and work with their choirs to teach them some of our songs, some other songs as well, but just to give them an understanding of how I do things, which is not necessary, which will not be like other people. I think it's about that we all have our different ways of teaching choir. I think the important thing is achieving the sound, people achieving the knowledge, the leaders of the choirs understanding what they need to do to run the choir, the structures, selecting of the songs, acquiring musicians, and teaching the singers how to sing, the attitude, getting your lead singers to be able to deliver a song. Maybe some of them have not done it before, but they would have an audience in front of them. Teach them how to pace themselves during the presenting of a song, because there's some people who are not very good at that. They will go out and they start blowing hard right from the first note, so halfway through the song, they don't have much left to give. They've given it all already. So things like that is very, very, very important. And choir leaders across Europe has asked me to come and work with them on the whole aspect of what I do. Might be different to other choirs, but this is the way that I have taught the London Community Gospel Choir and have run it for nearly 40 years.
You know, the importance of mastering your craft and harnessing your because everything that you do, I believe that you've got to give it your 120%. And we're in a world where we see talents. I mean, amazing people with great voices, and the training and the effort and everything that they put in, like you have mentored all these ladies and gentlemen in your choir. Could you
Mm,
emphasize the importance of, this generation? We see people popping out, oh, I'm a gospel artist, I'm a this, I'm a that, but you don't sometimes the quality, because if you want to sell good music, I believe that you've got to give it your all. Could you emphasize on the importance of mastering your craft?
mm. I can't stress that enough. I relate to my children who followed me into music as well, because they saw me, so they were learning by example, and they saw my application to what I'm now doing, and so they in turn followed into the industry. But they realized that the only way they were to excel and be the best they can be is by committing, not 50%, not be wavering in and out. You pick it up for a few months and you drop it, and then you go and do something else. That is confusion. That is confusion. So they have stuck to it. I have stuck to it. I used to go to work. I was saying to somebody when I first started after my first lesson with Olive Paris, my mentor. Um, when she started her church, she bought a Hammond organ, a brand new Hammond organ. Now that didn't exist in London at the time, and if there was one, it was certainly was not brand new. I was the first one to play it, and that's because she believed, she saw my passion and desire to be the best I can be, and she believed that God had touched my life to be a communicator through music, because she was a preacher, she was a missionary. She traveled all over the UK at first, and then she began traveling internationally. So by the time I became proficient or well enough to travel with her, my passion was at its peak. I would work during the daytime. I would not go home to eat. I would go straight to the church and I was practicing. I would be listening to albums of people whose playing I admired, the artists, American artists primarily. Billy Preston was a musician I idolized. He was considered the fifth Beatle.
Mm.
Um, he played on a lot of the Beatles' music. I admired him. He was playing professionally for people like Mahalia Jackson, I think, from age 12. Could you imagine that?
Wow.
That is, that's the talent there. That is a gift
Mm.
that he. I loved his playing, and there are other keyboard players that I admired. I would listen to albums for hours, and I would hear what they're playing, and then I would go and I would sit at the piano or organ. I would try to emulate what I was hearing, and I would times was so frustrated. I would cry out of frustration because I realized I was not getting it right. But I practiced. I practiced. I have not learned to read music. I Once I got on the treadmill with London Community Gospel Choir, to take time out to go to classes were proved quite difficult. Maybe I didn't give enough time to it. But what I did try was go to. I signed up for a series of a term of classes, going to a class once a week, and I sat in that class for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I became so bored. I decided I was wasting my time because whatever the teacher was, I had already worked it out in my head, and that tends to be my way. When you have the air, you
Yeah.
can you're well ahead of everybody else, which they need to see the physical notes being written. But I was already ahead and doing this thing by ear, doing all of the exercise by ear, and that was not going to be of any help to me. I needed to learn in a different way. But it has not stopped me from doing what I have done for 40 years, surrounding myself with musicians, some of them who can read.
Mm.
It didn't stop me from playing music with them, to being part of the band or them supporting me. I think that's where some folk will need some inspiration. Is don't doubt yourself because you might not have the skills and some of the abilities of other people. Your ability can be taken right to its maximum. I think
Mm.
that will cut out your uniqueness if you stretch that as far as it can go. But if you're not stretching, you'll never know how far you can go. Your ability, God gave each one of us a talent. It's creative and in music for some people. It might be in finance. It might be in the medical side of things. It might be in engineering. It might be aeronautics and so forth. But God
Yeah.
has given each one of us a gifting, and I think it's important for each one of us to discover, find out what is your passion. Once you've discovered that, embrace it, love it, and then commit yourself because
All right.
that becomes your journey in life to learn, develop that skill. And that is how you make your mark in life. People remember you for your commitment, and you will impact individuals, you will impact your society, your community as a result of that.
Fantastic. So let's talk about how COVID have affected the music industry, and especially you. Um, you did get the virus, but thank God you healed and
Hmm.
alive and kicking. That's why we're having a conversation. So just tell me how this pandemic has affected um, your music and music in general.
It almost took my heart. I hate it. Have hated it. I still hate it. Uh, some folk found it liberating in some ways because they were able to have a freedom that they not had prior. Um, I don't think I viewed it the same way. In as much as I was sick, I became sick in Madrid doing one of my master classes. It was early days when the virus was kind of reaching out in all areas of the world, particularly Europe, Spain and Italy. Madrid wasn't one of the places that it had been highlighted was a melting pot for this thing. So when we were running the workshops, I think I had about 50 people in my class. We behaved as normal. We were mics, we were teaching, using microphones, we were greeting each other in the same way. There wasn't any social distancing or the sort of things that we've had to do for the past
Mm.
13, 14 months. And so I came back with well, feeling ill. I'm not quite sure why. Because I'm not normally sick. I don't get the flu. Most people will get a cold each year or the flu. I have not had that for any part in my life, I remember. Fortunate in that we're blessed. I do try to do all the things that we're told we should do in terms of eating and eating right correctly and other things. Um, and so the virus took over my body for that week. I attended a couple of family functions because I didn't know what it was. Birthday party of my brother and my nephew's birthday as well. So during that week, but by the weekend, it took hold and took me to a place that was very scary, weak, sweating, literally dropping, water running off my face and my
Wow.
body. Just wanting to lay down all the time, just feeling weak and lethargic and pained up body. I'm a keyboard player and I could not touch the piano. My fingertips were so painful. Everywhere hurt. And then my lungs began to feel very, very strange, as if something had actually lodged itself in my lungs. And
Wow.
I became very, very worried about that. I began it instinctively I began to do vocal exercises because I felt my lungs, something was going on there. I need to exercise my lungs more than just normal breathing. So in spite of how I was feeling, I was doing deep breathing exercises, uh, which we're accustomed to doing when preparing to sing and while singing. So I think that helped me great deal. Um, I ended up in hospital because the 111 number was absolutely useless. I hung on the phone for over an hour waiting for somebody to answer it, and when someone answered, it was a youngster. When I asked for help, they told me, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's nothing I can tell you, but you must self isolate. Don't go to the doctor. Don't go to hospital."
They'll
I
go
said,
anywhere.
"Don't go anywhere." I said, "Is this the information that I've waited 1 hour to hear? You
Sorry.
know how I am feeling right now. I need more than this." I put the phone down. I became quite angry. Became quite angry because I couldn't believe this child was saying, the fact it was a child as well. I was really saying, "Whoa, is this how bad things are?" So I rang 999, the emergency numbers, and the lady on the other phone was much more sympathetic and understanding. Obviously, someone who wasn't just told some lines that they should repeat, but she was actually listening to what I said. So she said, "Well, look, you sound like you have the symptoms of the COVID. Would you like an ambulance?" I said, "Absolutely. I need to go to the hospital. I need an X-ray where I can be told that my something is happening in my chest, in my lungs, and I know that for a fact because I can feel it there." So I eventually got that. It took me about nearly 10 hours in the hospital because at that time people were just beginning to flood into the hospitals. The hospitals were not really prepared for it. The very early days. So eventually I was X-rayed, and they told me yes, there was something. It's in your lungs, and just told me to go home and take aspirin and self-isolate. Uh, Take aspirin or something like that. Paracetamol, I think it might have been. And so that's what I did. I eventually caught a taxi at 6 o'clock the following morning after being there from 10 p.m. And got home and got into drinking loads of hot drinks. Understood that the virus does not like hot. acidic drinks like with lemon, ginger, turmeric. I was on those hot drinks regularly. I was still trying to do some form of exercise in my terrible state. I I refused to look in the mirror after a few days because I was not eating. I couldn't. But my taste had gone. I didn't enjoy eating anything. So I couldn't look in the mirror. My face looked gaunt and drawn, and oh my goodness, it was
And
a.
thank God you are here.
I am
Thank
here.
God you're
Hallelujah.
here.
Hallelujah.
You will not die, but live to declare
Yeah,
God's
not
goodness in the
my
land of
time.
the
My
living.
time is not yet. My time is
Yes.
not yet. Yeah.
But it's scary, isn't it? It's very
But
scary because
it
of
was very scary indeed.
everything that we were seeing on the news, and thank God
Mm,
you're here. But it's really affected businesses, and and so your the community choir as well, the London Community Gospel Choir, and you're going to put up a concert in May. It was supposed to be, was it yesterday, and is you've moved it
yeah,
to May
yeah,
22nd. So tell us about it.
yeah. Um, yeah. It's knowledge. It's common knowledge that nobody's been able to work for since February, March last year, and before that. And so we are in the same boat. Uh, we have for nearly 40 years supported ourselves. So we have not applied for grants or any funding opportunities that might be out there. We've worked it both locally in UK and in the British Isles and internationally, places like Japan, Russia, Morocco, Africa, and certainly all over Europe. Um, so we've worked. So um, whatever finances we have accumulated over the years, it's impossible. We're not wealthy. We're not rich in any way. We literally live from hand to mouth. We work, we get the money. We singers are paid. We pay the bills. I run the organization from a building in East London, Walthamstow. There are offices upstairs, and there's my own recording studio downstairs, which I built maybe 15, 20 years ago from my own funds, which as a dream I had. So having spent so many thousands of pounds on albums, recording albums in places like Abbey Road and other studios, I decided, well, it makes sense to have your own studio, and it will be something that is a
Yeah.
legacy I hand on to my family and the choirs, and they sort of remain in the choir and my family. So that is it. Um, it's been difficult, very very difficult, and even in spite of lockdown being lifted and slowly being returned to some form of normality, we feel that we will not survive until we are fully back to work if we do not get an influx. Having applied for some of the grants that the government has given to local authorities and other bodies, we've applied for about five of them, and we've managed to get just a small amount from one. We've been turned down for all the others. I'm sure there are many organizations with the same experience, but I can only talk about my situation, and because I'm passionate and about what we do. And this choir has not only the Bazil Meade name on it. There are hundreds of musicians and singers in the industry, impacting the whole of the United Kingdom's music industry, who learned and developed their craft in the London Community Gospel Choir. And there's a crop of 50 people now in the choir who are going through that process. They love it. They're from different backgrounds. They're from Africa, Caribbean. They're from English families. They're from Sweden. They're from other countries as well. So the choir represents the London in many ways. So this concert is a fundraising event to help us to raise some money, survival money. That's what it is, so that we can, and the money will be used to do projects giving back to our community. It's about that. That's what we have always been about. It's not about becoming stars or famous people to show how great we are at being musicians. It's not about that. We are about impacting the world. That's why we are very keen to, very happy to accept the invitations. So the concert is to raise money to give the choir a fighting chance of surviving, say to the end of the year. Our Royal Albert Hall annual Royal Albert Hall show is back on the agenda for Christmas, 17th of December this year. We want to be there.
Yeah.
And so, we have a Baroque gospel project that we started in Holland 2, 3 years ago. Amazing with a Baroque orchestra. It's a new style of collaboration between a gospel choir and a Baroque orchestra. And that is a fabulous project that we'd planned to record an album. We would have been in deep in rehearsal for that now, but that all that has to be shelved. We're still hoping to tour it later in the year, and therefore we want to be able to be around to fulfill these commitments. And there are others that are on the agenda. To this fundraising event on the 22nd of May, 6 p.m. in the evening, hopefully will enable us. I believe the team who are doing it, and this is something I mustn't forget, because the people behind this really are a group of ladies, predominantly white ladies. Just let me say, it's important so people can understand during this pandemic, it's not all negative. The community has come together in so many fabulous ways. They got in touch with me and said, we understand, we know about your situation. We would love to mount a campaign or do something. We'd like to support you somehow. And this is what came out of it. And so the ones who've driven us, they told us to get up and let us put things together. You've performed with so many amazing artists. Reach out to them, ask them if they could come on board and support you in some way. They're called the Grounded Mumas. Look out for them. I think they have they're on social media. But wonderful women, all mothers. They've been affected by COVID, and this is what they're doing to keep their mental health, to keep community spirit alive, is reach out to a gospel choir who's struggling. We don't struggle with our talent, but we're struggling with the finances that we have not been able to get to help us to survive. So that is what the event's about. We will be keeping the social media presence over the next few weeks. It's quite a while, but we're determined to do that. We want many more people there than we would have had yesterday, because it's allowing more time to tell the world about it.
Fantastic. So please follow Bazil Meade on social media, Bazil Meade MBE on Instagram, the London Community Gospel Choir. You're also on social media, and check out the great things that they're doing. But you also have your own music, My Journey Now, your
Mm,
single, and
mm.
also with the choir, Keep Moving. So these are songs that you've come up with, and they are all on Spotify, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And all
I've written a
music
number
up.
of yes, I've written a number of songs down through the years. Not as much writing as I would have loved to do. I often say to people, I think my creative skills have suffered greatly because having to focus on the management and the leadership of the choir, I tend to your attention is probably more focused on the people you're leading than
Mm,
on my own skills. And I think I've suffered in many ways. I don't take it negatively. I'm just recognizing, because I would have loved to have had more time to develop my songwriting, my playing skills, and so forth. But it's all part of the journey I've been on. So there are many blessings and benefits in there.
of course,
Definitely.
of course. You've sown so many seeds, and I bet you're so proud because many people that have gone through your hands are, doing wonderful things with amazing artists around the world. And sometimes you sit back and say, hey, you know, I'm proud, and I think it's a blessing when you are able to raise people and mentor people. So that
Mm,
blessing is
mm.
beyond, it's priceless. So we pray that God will give you, and there is timing for everything. A time is coming that
I,
you'll
I
sit
believe.
down, and
I believe.
my journey now, and so I
Mm.
believe so. What do you want to tell your fans out there as we wrap up?
Um, People, I just love the. I know many of you know me, know my London Community Gospel Choir. We synonymous. If you speak about Basil, you speak about London Community Gospel Choir, vice versa. We have great passion for what we do, and we absolutely love doing it together. We hope that you will be with us on the day, the 22nd of May. Give us some support. It's about donating. Our website, which is where everything will be guided from, is lcgc.org.uk, London Community Gospel Choir.org.uk. The links that you will need are achievable there. The donating GoFundMe, I believe, it's the name of it, is there also. So what as little or as much as you feel you can give. We have set a target of about £75,000. We hope we get there, but you know what? When you have nothing, when you have nothing, £5 is something. So if we get 4,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4, 5, 6,000, 10,000 pounds, it is a blessing because without that we would have nothing. So we're still hoping for the £75,000. Please God, and more. So yeah, let's tell your friends about it. Share the information that you see on social network, and encourage people to come and support us. We have the support of people like Jules Holland, Boy George, Paul Carrot, Noel Robinson, Donald Lawrence, the Gospel Choir King in America, B.B. Winans from the Winans family, and there are other people. We're waiting to hear other people jumping on board. Beverly Knight, Maxi Priest. It's extensive list of people we have already had support from, and they will be all on social media of the next week, next few weeks, and up to and on the day on the 22nd. So, yeah, support the London Community Gospel Choir, your local choir, who have been here 40 years, blazing the trail. You
Blazing the
what
trail
blazing the trail of gospel music across the world. We want to be here for many, many more years. In fact, another keep
till
giving
Jesus
revelation
comes.
till Jesus comes. Amen.
Amen.
My son Leon Meade, who has been with me, he's been touring with me throughout the world from age 2. I'm now pushing him in the front space to be the creative and the lead of the choir. I believe in legacy. So I've been working on this, and I'm speaking to him and getting him. He is very much like his dad, more talented, I must say. Um, Probably much calmer than I am, but watch out for Leon Mead. It's synonymous with the London Community Gospel Choir.
That is fantastic. Shout out to Leon. That is it. Leaving the legacy. I
Legacy
love
is
that.
vital,
Leaving the
vital.
legacy and passing the torch. So, and I know that if he was 2 when he was traveling with you, then I bet he knows the inside out. And so we will pray for him. Thank you
Yeah, man.
so much, Bazil Meade MBE. And as we said, check out for the Queen's next honoring list and vote for somebody that you see, or
Mm.
nominate
Nominate
somebody
them.
that
That's what. Yeah,
nominate somebody
yeah.
that you see in the community doing great things. And you never know, because it's all about we empowering each other and supporting
Hmm.
each other and
Hmm.
harnessing each other's talents, and using it to build be a blessing to the body of Christ. I like that when you said it earlier on. We all have
Hmm.
something, you know.
Hmm.
You might be the hand, I might be the nose. Each and every one have something. And when we use this, this morning I talked about we being light, then we become the light that
Hmm.
is supposed to brighten this world that we are. Thank you so much. Have a
Very well.
wonderful
Welcome.
week ahead,
Yeah.
and I hope I come your way again, and we'll see you on the 22nd
Okay.
of
I'm looking
May.
forward to seeing you there. Just to emphasize, folk, you can nominate somebody to be on the Queen's honors list. You don't have to wait for some politician to do it. You in the neighborhood identify those who are doing great work, selfless work in your community. Nominate them for recognition. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Recognizing those who are contributing to our communities. Bless you.
Bless you. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Nana. Bless you.
So I hope you enjoyed our conversation and keep on doing the great things that you do. And I pray that God bless you and you have a wonderful week ahead. So I come your way next Sunday. Have a wonderful week, and always, always know that you belong at the top. Bye bye.